Good morning and welcome to Fulbeck in Lincolnshire for round 8 of the HWE BIM Services SuperOne Championship. Senior Rotax qualifying is in its dying embers, a minute to go in that session before we head towards our first race of the day, which will be heat number 1 for our Might Ease. So you can see on the screen, here we are at the most technical circuit on the SuperOne calendar, Fulbeck. Long straights intersected by tight tyre wall line chicanes, which yesterday, particularly in juniors and seniors, were the scene of many an incident, particularly in senior Rotax, where a high level of coolant was dropped onto the circuit, which caused a big incident in the final couple of laps, that race ending under a Battenberg flag going the way of Jarek Metters. At the moment, he's on the inside of the second row, currently lined up in 3rd place in this qualifying session. As we await the final few drivers to come through, we'll confirm the results shortly. That's why you can see drivers going fairly slowly. Checkered flag waving in the far end. We've got a few drivers not showing us trip the timing line yet for the final time. That's because they've managed to get round for an extra lap, given how fast they were off the front. But it looks like it's going to be Rory Hinckley, who had a tough day yesterday, retired from one of the heats, didn't qualify overly well either, did Rory Hinckley, and it's set him back a little bit for the final. But at the moment, he's going to be lining up on pole position with yesterday's top 2 behind him, albeit in different order. Morgan Hudson-Brown, who finished second yesterday, qualifying second. Jarek Metters, yesterday's final winner, will qualify 3rd. The championship leader, George Cole, will go off P4. Joe Peed in the live chat saying good luck to Luca. We'll be watching, and he will be gridding up and ready to go in a few moments' time for the first race of the day, as we see EJ Deera and Aidan Castleman ready on the front row. There is Luca Peed on the with the white helmet towards the left-hand side train. So we will get ready to go racing for the first time today at round number 8 here at Fulbeck. It's time for heat number 1 in Might E. Final few words of encouragement for the drivers before the helpers make their way out onto circuit. The drivers will make their way round to meet them. All weather tyres, of course, on our Mighties, the same as the Coma C50s. This morning's qualifying session, a complete reset from yesterday, where we had qualifying 2 heats and a final the same today. So drivers with another opportunity to regrid, and it's EJ Deera on pole position. Eli Parkhouse alongside him on the front row, with Luca Peed and Max Tetlow on the second row. Aidan Castleman and Joshua Chung on row number 3. Row 4, Fabian Smith and Teddy Veselovsky, with Maverick Reddick and Archie Watkins going off row number 5 in front of Astro Matthews and Dax Miller. Row 7 will be Fraser Payne and Arton Odula, with Jensen Paris lining up in P15. Arton Odula with a issue in qualifying this morning, which meant his kart stopped on the run up towards the complex very early in that qualifying session. He then had to watch from the sidelines as everybody else set qualifying times. Drivers now looking lonely compared to where they were 2 or 3 minutes ago, where they had their helpers down with them, but they'll be sent forwards shortly by the grid marshal. All the helpers are now into position. There we go, 2 by 2 sent forwards. There is Arton Odula. Doesn't look like we've got Jensen Paris with us this morning in the 55. The 83 of Fraser Payne rolling in, Artenodula as well. So yeah, no 55 of Fraser Payne this morning. It's shown on the grid, but looks like we're going to only have 14 runners then. Start marshal will give the drivers the 5-second board. The lights on the overhead gantry will go red as they have on the top right-hand corner of your screen. They extinguish and we are away and racing straight down towards the first corner. And off the outside of the front row, it's Eli Parkhouse who's made a good start, and Luca Pede's on the inside as well, trying to get down the inside of the UK plate of EJ Deere. That first chicane will be reinserted next time they come round, as wide goes Eli Parkhouse, but he may well still have track position. And I think we may well see Luca Pede getting down the inside here as well, as EJ Deere is going to be high and wide on the outside, and the championship leader Luca Pede slides down the inside and into second place. There is one of our senior karts on the outside. That'll just be waiting a trolley to be taken back into the pit lane. Field making their way up through the complex for the first time. Max Tetlow trying to find a way through on EJ Deere, and indeed does, moves himself up into third place as Luca Pede pulls out of the slipstream of Eli Parkhouse, but then slots straight back in behind. Didn't quite get the run out of the final corner he'd been hoping for. Artenodula in the background there is now starting to join the leading train of karts, and he's moved himself up. I think that was a move down the inside of Maverick Reddick. He moves himself up. So the first train of 6 down to Joshua Chung. And then we are going to be 3 wide in the background. That's Maverick Reddick trying to go down the inside. There's EJ, it looked like EJ Deere there trying to go up the back of the kart in front. Aidan Castleman will be on the inside as they run up towards the complex, and he's down the inside for 4th place. Good move by Castleman. Will Luca Pede stay in the wheel tracks this time of Eli Parkhouse? He does. In the background though, Joshua Chung alongside EJ Deere. Didn't quite get the move done. Artenodula already up into 7th place. There goes Joshua Chung for a second time down the inside of the pole sitter. Good little move there by Chung as Aidan Castleman tries a nose down the inside of Max Tetlow. Chung and Deere still side by side. They managed to finally get themselves into single file order, but not before losing a fair amount of time to the leading quartet at the front of this race. Still Eli Parkhouse from Luca Pede. Pede looking content at the moment just to try and push away with Eli Parkhouse, but then unable to shake off Tetlow and Castleman. Behind that there's 2 groups of 3. Luca Pede's on the inside here. And down the inside he goes as Max Tetlow then goes into the side of Eli Parkhouse. No harm done really between the two of them. .320 on the clock as Luca Pede now leads Joshua Chung and EJ Deere under pressure from Artenodula, who's come through from P14 and will have to do the same again in the second heat. Both the heat grids set from qualifying rather than a start where you finish. There's Archie Watkins in the W plate coming through in front of Astro Matthews. So we've got a yellow flag in the complex. In front of that though, Luca Pede now has a bit of a gap because they're battling over second place with Eli Parkhouse, Aidan Castleman. Luca Pede driving off into the distance. Oh, in the background, that's EJ Deera and Joshua Chung going wheel to wheel, and that's going to allow Arten Odula to sweep round the outside of Chung for 6th place.
Typically, as I said, Bruce has walked out. Yeah, just do that.
Good little switch back there by Aidan Castleman. Door was closed on him though, but they were side by side pod to side pod between Max Tetlow and Aidan Castleman, and Tetlow just popping out, not quite close enough to Eli Parkhouse. Parkhouse just needs a clear lap really, I think, to try and draw up onto the back again of Luca Pede. Was nearly a tenth faster on the previous lap. Fabian Smith and the W plate of Archie Watkins just making their way down the back straight as again this battle for 2nd place doesn't appear to be costing them too much time, but they do need to be mindful that the driver of the quality of Luca Pede can get away. And see, as soon as they be compliant with the 3 of them in the space of a corner, they can reel Luca Pede back in at the front of this grid, and they indeed have. It's 30 seconds to go in the opening race of the day. Contact warning for Eli Parkhouse. I think that might have been for tapping into the back of Luca Pede. One of the side effects of bump drafting. Up towards Caravan Corner for what will be the penultimate time. Time elapsing down to 0. Be the final lap next time round for Luca Pede, who started this race in 3rd place, methodically worked his way forwards. Took his time finding a way past Eli Parkhouse, and now will have to defend the run up towards the first corner as Parkhouse is going to try and go all the way around the outside. That is a superb move by Eli Parkhouse. Let's start the day as we mean to go on, all the way around the outside of the championship leader, and then Max Tetlow's going to dive down the inside into the first corner. No defence by Eli Parkhouse, and Max Tetlow, who crossed the line in 3rd place in the space of 2 corners, will lead us into the back bus stop. Eli Parkhouse in his wheel tracks. Luca Pede now having to defend 3rd place because Aidan Castleman is going to come down the inside. And they'll run side by side up towards Caravan Corner. Can Castleman get the switch back? The lead, though, is going to be argued over by Max Tetlow and by Eli Parkhouse as they head into the complex for the final time. Some lap traffic in front to contend with. I don't think they're going to catch it, and if they are, they'll benefit a little bit from the slipstream. But Max Tetlow wins heat number 1, which came alive with a lap to go. It was fairly pedestrian until then, and then all of a sudden, all the way around the outside went Eli Parkhouse, and that created a chain of overtakes as he defended Luca Pede up towards the first corner. It was Max Tetlow who took full advantage as he came through. Tetlow from Parkhouse, Pede and Castleman then, your top 4, split by a second. Although that doesn't really tell the story as they were all nose to tail over the timing line with 1 lap to go. EJ Deera finishes P5 in front of a charging Arten Odula, who comes through from P14 to finish the race in 6th place. Joshua Chung, Teddy Veselowski and Maverick Reddick in front of Fabian Smith. Rest of the field, Archie Watkins, who we just saw crossing the line there in the W plate, in front of Astro Matthews, Dax Miller and Fraser Payne in P14. Next up then, it is our Coma C50s as they just get their engines warmed up and ready to go. Their helpers too will make their way round to the grid in a few moments' time. So we'll bring one to you for Coma C50. Good morning in the live chat to Hannah Stevens saying, come on Eli for Eli Parkhouse. Alex Owen, good morning to yourself. And Sonia Train as well saying good luck to River. So that will be for River DiGiorgio Miller. David Train getting in touch as well. Both of the two watching from Australia. So let's find out how qualifying went for your driver. Matthew Pearson, the championship leader, on the right-hand side, and Logan Grassi on pole position on the left-hand side of the screen, proving a new sticker kit is certainly worth a tenth or two. So he changes from a dark blue to a slightly lighter version, so that's worth a tenth of a second, and that's more than enough to put him on pole position. He lines up alongside Matthew Pearson, Jace Hannon and Reggie Rhodes on the second row, River DiGiorgio Miller and Noah Gallagher on row number 3. Row 4, Aidan Hughes and Robert Hanley in front of Regan Abercrombie and Tristan Begley. Henry Isles will start 11th. 12th will be Dalton Dyke Whitfield, his car again. Another one that rolled to a halt in qualifying on the exit of Caravan Corner. Didn't manage to set a time at all for Dalton Dyke Whitfield, a driver that normally challenges towards the top 6 for trophies, so expect him to try and work his way through the field, but he's got work to do in both sessions today, with qualifying setting the grids for both of the 2 heats, then the Deep Point setting the grid for the finals. He's got some hard yards to put in either side of lunchtime. As the front 2 are sent on their way and round to the awaiting parents and mechanics, trying to get as much heat in the tyres as possible in what is the shortest run to the line here at Fulbeck. You come out of the dummy grid, round the final corner and up to the grid for a standing start, so they only get a corner to try and get some heat in the tyres. That will be a largely fruitless exercise. Morning to David Gibson, he's supporting Reggie Rhodes, he goes off the second row. Regan Abercrombie getting some love as well from Charlene in the live chat. He's in this race in the 48, there he is just to the left of the acceleration cone for our rolling start classer. Jacob Thompson as well saying good luck to Reggie Rhodes. Let's find out how they do. Red lights in the top right hand corner are out and we are away and racing. Looks like it's a good start from both of the front row. Logan Grassie's going to try and move across, but he's going to leave the inside unattended, and will that give a driver an opportunity to go down the inside, or is he more than enough? Already tapping the helmet, asking drivers to work with him, and Reggie Rhodes is going to come from the second row all the way around the outside to slot into second place in front of Jace Hannon. And Matthew Pearson off the front row is going to come out of this one in P5. He's behind the 22 of Noah Gallagher into the bus stop for the first time. And Reggie Rhodes goes in a little bit too hot, doesn't lose out too much, but has lost a little bit of track time to the early race leader, the pole sitter, Logan Grassi, up to Caravan Corner on the opening lap. Grassi from Rhodes. Jace Hannon in third place. Gallagher, we've got a driver just dipping the wheel on the grass in the background. No harm done as they hold on to where they are. Up and over the timing line for the first time. And it's going to be Logan Grassi, but only over the timing line. He's going to lose the lead to a charging Reggie Rhodes, who's managed to move through from fourth place up into the lead inside the opening lap. And the door still remains open, and Jace Hannon is going to go down the inside of Logan Grassi as well. Grassi then down into third place. Good morning to Pam Warmington in the live chat. They're down at Clay Pigeon this weekend, but watching the events unfolding here at Fulbeck for round number 8 of Super One. Wide goes Reggie Rhodes, the door open for Jace Hannon. Rhodes will be on the inside but will be squeezed tight, will not get a particularly fast exit out of that corner. And as Jace Hannon taps the helmet, that is a clear invite for the drivers to send it down the inside into the first corner on him, and he goes from second down to 4th place. A good move there by Logan Grassi, and Grassi's going to carry the momentum up towards the hairpin as well, as Noah Gallagher tries to shoehorn the number 22 down the inside of Reggie Rhodes. Rhodes didn't take too kindly to that. They'll run 3 wide in the middle part of the straight up towards the bus stop, and Jace Hannon is the big winner as Logan Grassi goes wide in the middle of that complex of corners, but he is back into the lead. First on 1 lap, down into 3rd, back up into 1st place. He leads as we just pass half race distance at the end of this lap. It's 7 minutes plus a lap. Matthew Pearson starting to come back into things now. Both he and Hannon, the 2 runaway leaders in points prior to the drop scores being added in at the end of this weekend. Mentioned yesterday in the Slipstream broadcast powered by Alpha Live, which will be available for members immediately and for everybody else in a week's time. The finals yesterday were absolutely superb. What we were mentioning was that we run a 12-round championship over 6 weekends, and you take your best 10 results. So drivers can have an off day, can miss a weekend, can put mechanical issues to the back of their mind, knowing that it won't really affect them come the business end of the season at Wilton Mill and Shennington. The final 2 rounds of this championship. Wilton in a month's time, Shennington 4 weeks after the final weekend of August, where we'll crown our 2026 champions. Last year's champion in 2025, Hendrix Falat, in this class won an epic battle with Calmon Simon that went down to the final corner at Shennington, as Grassi is down the inside of Jace Hannon, who'd taken the lead in the middle of that lap. And again, they're all tapping helmets. Here comes Hannon, Matthew Pearson down the inside. Pearson's going to try and move up into the left-hander at Marshall Post 5 and gets it done. Matthew Pearson with a methodical drive once again. Another helmet tap from Pearson, another one from Grassi. Head, shoulders, knees, toes, hold the steering wheel, young men. Minute and 50 to go. The top 6 now, all the way down to River Di Giorgio Miller, are starting to really come back together. Reggie Rhodes 2/10 quicker than the train in front of him and dragged them along. But Matthew Pearson now doing what Matthew Pearson has done largely throughout the season, is just be there or thereabouts, but it's the final couple of laps where Pearson generally has been able to pull away, open up a little bit of a gap, and that's what's given him his championship lead thus far. Into the right-hander of Caravan Corner, the 3 behind beginning to fragment a little bit more, as Reggie Rhodes, who led this race early on, has fallen away. Still within touching distance and will pick up solid points for 4th place, but having led will have probably hoped for a little bit more. 2 laps to go in Coma C50. Grassi a 10th quicker on that previous lap. So a lap and a half to go. There's Pearson, Grassi and Hannon. make their way through that back chicane, not shy in using the curbs, but it's allowed Logan Grassi to close right up, and I thought he might have done a move on Pearson in the same way that Pearson had done to him in that same corner a few laps ago to take the lead. Because I'm fairly sure Pearson's going to defend hard as the Reggie Rhodes, Noah Gallagher, River Di Giorgio Miller battle continues as Miller goes down the inside of Gallagher. Gallagher's going to hold track position side by side as we head on to the final lap, and Grassi trying to go round the outside of a defensive Matthew Pearson. He's going to scrub off some speed. Pearson's going to need to get the run. As Grassi's in the slipstream. This is a two-kart race at the moment. Jace Hannon has dropped a few kart lengths off the back. Grassi's going to try and go wider into the corner and get the exit speed. Got to get to the inside here as Matthew Pearson continues to hug the white line on the inside of the circuit. Contact warning for River Di Giorgio Miller as we headed on to the final lap in the run out of the complex. Again, Pearson defensive. Grassi's going to try and get the run out of this corner, draws alongside. Pearson's going to be tight on the exit. Can Grassi get the run? He's going to try and get alongside, but I think he needed the straight to be a little bit longer. Indeed he did, 1/10 of a second, splitting Matthew Pearson and Logan Grassi. Pearson takes the spoils then in heat number 1. Grassi, Hannon, Rhodes, Gallagher and Miller, your top 6 in front of Robert Hanley and Aidan Hughes, with Tristan Begley, Regan Abercrombie, Henry Isles and Dalton Dyke Whitfield showing as a retiree at the end of the opening lap. 7 laps down for Dalton Dyke Whitfield. Can't see the car out on the circuit, so it looks like the car has been driven back into the pit lane. That looks very much like Alfie Ward in the strawberry OTK colour suit, the blue helmet, Italian-inspired gloves. Don't believe there is an Italian connection, given that they live in Worksop in South Yorkshire. I mean, there might be a few Italian. He doesn't have any Italian connections. He just might have liked the colour of the gloves. Does certainly match the helmet, and to be fair, it matches in with the suit as well. I can see why he's gone for it now. Quality bit of filling there. We'll move on very quickly then to our next race. It's time for Micromax and iArmy Water Swift Restricted.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you just give us a minute? I'm just
So Ralph Ewer on the left-hand side. Yesterday's final winner, Zane Sofawoglu, on the right. Ewer on pole, then Sofawoglu alongside Jensen Drummond and Alfie Ward with a much better qualifying. We've got a stationary cart at the back. We'll pick up who that is in a few moments. Ellis Holt and Jensen O'Connor will be off row number 3 then, with Cooper Galloway, Tommy Delaney, Buster Scott, the championship leader, Eleanor Shelby Parsonage, Charlie Cale and Lucas Howling are on row number 6. Then it's going to be Jackson Fuchs, Max Stone, James Hudson, Daniel Thompson, with Ezra Robinson Matthews in front of Matty Smith. Ralph Dempsey will start P19, Rowan Reed alongside him on row number 10, with Sam Hope, Daniel DeBrio and Hugh Riley. Cole Parrish was the driver that was stationary. He's iArmy Water Swift Restricted runner, as is Archie Johnson in the 111. Johnson's already there on the back. Those carts not look exactly the same from the front. From the back, though, you can see they've got a big water pipe from the radiator going all the way round to the back of the seat. It's hopefully very bright blue. Right, Ralph Ewer, who missed the opening weekend of the championship, but arrived later in the season and proceeded to insert himself right at the front of this Micro Max grid. Will lead us round, powers down into the tram lines. The timer begins and we're away and racing for 7 minutes plus 1 lap of action. The inside row certainly the more advantageous, as Zane Sofawoglu has fallen down to what will look to be around about 9th or 10th place. He's fighting straight back and trying to get down the inside of Cooper Galloway into that back chicane, I think, and makes his move through. So Ralph Ewer leads then. Pretty much everybody, I think, from the outside row just struggled to get away. So I don't think Alfie Ward's had a particularly good one either. He's down in 8th place. Don't think it was Cooper Galloway, in fact, who has been overtaken by Zane Sofawoglu. He'll just line in P4 here in the Jax Motorsport colours. I think it could well have been Tommy Delaney in the 33 rather than the 32. So keep an eye out for that turquoise coloured machine trying to find a way down the inside of Jenson O'Connor. Buster Scott just behind the Lando Norris inspired yellow helmet, numbered 85 RCE machine. Here's your championship leader coming into this race weekend. In front of Charlie Cale. Zane Sofawoglu third, but has missed a round. Not missing overtakes though. He goes down the inside of Jenson O'Connor. Moves himself back up into 5th place. Still enough time here. Needs to start picking off drivers in front very quickly, and I get the feeling there's a move coming now. Down the inside, right on cue by Zane Sofawoglu, and he's up into 4th place. Next on the hit list is Ellis Holt in the number 9. The 2 leaders though, Ralph Ewer and Jenson Drummond, carrying out a very complicit race so far. Work together, push away, have a 2-kart race with 2 minutes to go. Is on the agenda for the 2 of them. Can anybody throw a spanner in the works as Zane Sofawoglu arrives from yesterday with an overtake down the inside? He was that far back on Ellis Holt in the run up towards Caravan Corner. Hard on the brakes and back up now into the metaphorical podium places in this race. A look over the shoulder by Jenson Drummond as he sets the fastest lap, but he was only a fraction quicker than Sofawoglu, and Sofawoglu was making overtakes. As in the background we've got another one. This time it's Cooper Galloway down the inside of Ellis Holt. They'll run side by side on the exit of the hairpin up the far end of the circuit, but Galloway should have track position into the bus stop, and does. Being pushed along now by Ellis Holt. Behind them, Jenson O'Connor. That's a good move down the inside, I think, by one of the 2 RCE machines. I think it could well have been Tommy Delaney going down the inside of his teammate Buster Scott. Gap at the front down by 0.2 of a second to this leading duo. But the gap is 1.5 seconds. Sofawoglu not only racing the 2 in front, but he's racing the clock in the top left-hand corner. Is Zane Sofawoglu, because he may well have the pace, but he might not have the time. Needs these 2 in front to start battling. 3 minutes to go. Lapping in the 50s. I think we're going to get 5 laps in here. There's the crowd in the background, and all the way down the start-finish straight. Watch on. Are we about to see a special charge? Gap was 0.2. The gap's actually remained the same this time round. So the leaders doing what they need to do at the moment, but at some point Jenson Drummond may well want to go for the lead here, and he's got 1.5 seconds to do it in terms of track time. 2 minutes and 15 then on the clock. Just trying to work it out. 1 minute 40, 2 minutes 20. So there should be 4 laps at the end of this one. So I was correct in the 5, and Jensen Drummond still trying to work his way past Ralph Ewer. Again, gap was 1.6. Sofuoglu with the fastest lap of the race, 3/10 quicker than the duo in front. Gap's down to 1.3. We'll want to see Jensen Drummond diving past Ralph Ewer very shortly as he gets into the rear quarter, as they just cross lines up onto the run out onto that little bit of a back straight before thinking pretty much right on cue. We've got a cart off. Is that? I think that could well be James Hudson in the 43. As Alfie Ward goes down the inside of the championship leader, Buster Scott, at Caravan Corner. 3 laps to go. 1.3 seconds was the gap, down from 1.6. It's down by another 3/10 of a second. But again, Battenberg's out. Lifeline thrown. Zane Sofuoglu's not going to need to find that final second. The Battenberg flag has done it for him. I think he'd have been there or thereabouts at the end. I'm not sure he'd have had the time. But we've got a stationary cart in the front chicane, I think, and we've got a Battenberg flag. .30 seconds on the clock. Ralph Ewer just needs to slow this down so that he can, I think we're going to get 1 lap. The driver is moved to safety. The cart is safely behind the barrier. I'm just looking out the commentary box window to see whether we're going to get a green at the end of this lap, because it's down. The timer's going to go down to 0. Confirmation in the ears, we're going to get a green flag. A 1-lap shootout. Ralph Ewer, Jensen Drummond, Zane Sofuoglu. But let's not discount Galloway, Holt, O'Connor, Cale, Ward, Buster Scott, the championship leaders down in 9th. Tommy Delaney's made some good overtakes. Here we go, up to the timing line. 1 final opportunity. In heat number 1, we're away and racing for the 2nd time in this race. And Ralph Ewer leads us into the chicane. Sofuoglu's down the inside of Jensen Drummond for 2nd place. They're going to run 2 wide in the background. Up towards the first corner, Ellis Holt's down the inside. Drummond's getting shuffled back behind Cooper Galloway as well. Up to the bus stop. Ewer shouldn't need to defend. He's got a few kart lengths. But will almost certainly need to defend up towards Caravan Corner. Doors open! Sofuoglu's through down the inside. It looked like Ewer was defending, and then at the final moment opened the door. Zane Sofuoglu down the inside, up towards the right-hander. Needs a good run out of the final corner. The Battenberg has given it the opportunity to Zane Sofuoglu. He's taken it with both hands. Zane Sofuoglu wins from Ralph Ewer, Jensen Drummond and Cooper Galloway, Ellis Holt, Jensen O'Connor, Charlie Cale, Alfie Wood, Buster Scott, Hugh Riley, your top 10. 1-lap shootout at the end. Sofuoglu started the lap in 3rd. A superb move down the inside of Jensen Drummond into the first chicane, and the door gladly opened for him into Caravan Corner, and Zane Sofuoglu wins instalment number 1 of Micromax from Ralph Ewer and Jensen Drummond. Galloway, Holt, O'Connor, Cale, Ward, Scott and Riley, the rest of your top 10, in front of Tommy Delaney, Eleanor Shelby Parsonage, Lucas Howling and Max Stone. Jackson Boots, Cole Parrish making his way through in the IARMI Water Swift Restricted, finishing P16. Ezra Robinson Matthews, Matty Smith, Daniel Thompson and Rowan Reed in front of Ralph Dempsey. Archie Johnson, the second of the 2 IARMI Water Swift Restricted runners. Sam Hope, Daniel DeBrio, and walking back into the pit lane there, unfortunately, James Hudson in the number 43. His kart stationary. Brought out the Battenberg flag. And what a 1-lap shootout it was. Next up then, It's time for another one of my favourite classes. Yesterday's final. If you're a Slipstream member, then certainly go and watch the iArmy M1 final back from yesterday. If not, you're going to have to sit tight for a week and watch it then. But that it was an absolute classic, as it always is generally with iArmy M1. They pretty much do a show reel every weekend. Next up then, it's time for heat number 1 in iArmy M1. So iArmy M1 gridding up. Been distracted majorly in the commentary box by the arrival of sustenance, provided today, as always, by the friendliest team in the paddock at Tom Day Racing. Jules Nash will start on pole position then for iArmy M1, alongside him Presley Knight on the front row, the championship leader going into this race weekend. Well, had a bit of a tough one at times yesterday, particularly in heat number 1. Shea Downey and Teddy Smith on the second row, Oakley Rudman and Jed Evans on row number 3. They start in front of Stanley Thurston and Nicholas Answer, with George Miller and Jack Rossi Minot. A difficult qualifying session for a driver challenging for the championship. He goes off the outside of row number 5. Henry Exton and Frank Tingle on row number 6. Row 7, Maverick Reddick out again. We've seen him already once today. He's pulling double duty. He's alongside Gabriel Chu. Isaac Taylor in his debut weekend in the SuperOne Championship starts P15 after a good run yesterday, but a retirement in the final caused him some issues. And we've got one kart being pushed off already. I think that's Cheyenne Agomi in the 44, the Fernando Alonso inspired helmet. They're going to try and get that kart going as the 32 of Henry Exton is just realigned. So trying to get Cheyenne Agomi's kart going. Five-second board is up. Lights extinguished and we are away and racing, and it looks like Agomi's kart, they've got it going, and he's going to rejoin at the tail. So Cheyenne Agomi back into this race. Great work by, I think that was Stanley Thurston's dad, getting that kart going again. So we run up towards the first corner. Jules Nash then on the right-hand side of the screen. And that's Shea Downey trying to go all the way around the outside in the orange helmet. But Jules Nash will lead us out of the back chicane, being pursued then by Shea Downey in the 51. Oakley Rudman there in 4th place.
At least been slow that one. Yeah.
19, a good start as well by Teddy Smith. He's up in 3rd place, trying to pick out where Presley Knight's gone in the 16. Looks to be not inside the top 3 or 5 for that matter. He's down in P6 there, the second of the 2 all-black machines inside the top 6. So Nash will lead us through then at the end of lap number 1 in front of Downey, Smith, Rudman, Miller. Good move down the inside there by Jack Rossi Minot on the E-plate of Jed Evans. Looks like we may well have a change for the lead here. Downey's going to go down the inside of Jules Nash. Nash unable to stick it out round the outside. So Oakley Rudman is down the inside of Teddy Smith. It's not the most common overtaking spot on the way into the complex, but Jed Evans not only picks up a contact warning, but also loses a handful of places as well. He was in 7th place and now finds himself down in 9th. Oakley Rudman is down the inside of Jules Nash. Presley Knight may well be trying to find a way through here, and Knight, who was down to 6th, is going to do them both here in the run into the back bus stop. Started the lap in P5, and we've got somebody off in the background as the dust cloud gets shot up into the air. I think it's the 55 of Gabriel Chew that had gone off. And we've also got Maverick Reddick in the wall as well. Thumbs up from the marshal, says he's okay. Going to try and get that cart back out onto the circuit. So we had 2 carts going in there. Gabriel Chew may well have been one, Maverick Reddick the other, as we go nose to tail pretty much all the way down to Nicholas Ansett in 10th place. Reddick is back on track and going again. Driver who makes the journey over from the United States for every round of the SuperOne Championship. Presley Knight down the inside to take the lead from Shea Downey. And that's a good move by Jack Rossi Minot down the inside of George Miller as well. And Minot finally gets it completed in the run-up to the left-hander on the entry to the complex. Still going all the way down to Nicholas Ansett in 10th place. Gap back then to Henry Exton, who's battling in the background there with Briella Stevens. Knight's got a little bit of a gap. Jules Nash, the fastest driver on track now in number 18. There goes Stanley Thurston trying to make his move on George Miller. Jack Rossi Minot in 5th place is lonely at the moment. Train of 4, 1, then another train of 5 down to Ansett. He's pursuing Jed Evans in front of him. At the front, Presley Knight though. And a strong lap on the previous, where he took the lead and opened the gap up to nearly half a second. The time this time is 2 tenths faster than that, as Oakley Rudman launches himself over the exit curb. Presley Knight at the moment is just turning the screw. There's Maverick Reddick just getting back into things, currently down in P22. After that incident earlier on where he was in the tyre wall on the entrance to the back chicane. Shea Downey, Oakley Rudman, Jules Nash pushing on. Nash now being shown in 2nd place as he crossed the line alongside Shea Downey, but comes out down in 4th place as Oakley Rudman finds a way through, and Rudman now is down the inside of Shea Downey as well. And if Presley Knight had wing mirrors, he'd be quite happy seeing what's going on behind him. Up towards the right-hander of Caravan Corner, they've still got a big train of carts behind all the way down to Nicholas Ansett, is still in that 10th place. He's managed to stay with, but hasn't been able to challenge those in front. 2 laps to go. There's Knight extends the gap now out to beyond the 1 second mark and becomes the first driver to go sub 56 today. 55.997. Jules Nash down the inside of Shea Downey for 3rd place. Downey's going to try the little switchback, but that will put him on the outside. Going to require a certain amount of skill and bravery to sweep all the way around the outside and hold on, and Jules Nash has enough. Downey's going to try and come straight back at him though. Time is down to 0. Presley Knight leads with a gap of 1.3 seconds. The second train of karts, this 3, led by Oakley Rudman in front of Shea Downey and Jules Nash. Jack Rossi Minot, who was comfortable in 5th, has been reeled in the last couple of laps by Teddy Smith, Stanley Thurston, George Miller, and then Jed Evans and Nicholas Answer as well. Evans up into 8th place on that previous lap. On to the final lap. The leader is gone, just needs to remain facing forwards as Rudman in 2nd place has enough that he doesn't have to defend, although Nash does from Shea Downey. Up towards the back bus stop they go for the final time. Here goes Downey. Is he going to be alongside enough? Not this time. And that may well be his final opportunity. Presley Knight, though, started this race in 2nd place, fell all the way down to 6th on lap number 1, and he's going to take the win, though. He's worked his way back up the order, extended the gap to beyond 2 seconds, and Presley Knight takes the victory from Oakley Rudman, Jules Nash, Shea Downey and Jack Rossi Minot, with Teddy Smith in front of Stanley Thurston, Jed Evans, George Miller and Nicholas Answer completing your top 10. Rest of the field coming through. Zachary Das in the number 15 takes the checkered flag in front of Rex Everard, Albert Omi, James Talbot, Timothy Robinson and Cher Nagomi, whose car managed to get finishing in P21. Maverick Reddick finishing in P22 after the trip into the back chicane earlier on. Presley Knight with a commanding victory from Oakley Rudman, Jules Nash, Downey, Minot, Smith, Thurston, Evans, Miller and Answer, your top 10. Exton, Stevens, Taylor and Tingle finishing in front of Gabriel Chew, Zachary Das, Rex Everard, Albert Omi, James Talbot and Timothy Robertson, Cher Nagomi and Maverick Reddick as well. Into the live chat, getting some support coming in for Jake Anders in Junior Max from Ronnie Racing. That may well be Ronnie Harrer. If it is, let me know. Getting support as well from Supervex for George Bridger, who is in Honda Cadet. They are out next in what is an amalgamated grid with our Might E cadets as well, and then we'll see Mighty Super Cadet out with Intermax a little bit later on. So it's time then for an amalgamated grid, our next race of the day, Mighty Cadet and Honda GX200. We'll bring you a grid in a few moments. Freddie Cowley in the live chat, a driver that I commentate on in other series races in Senior Pro Kart. Good morning to yourself. And Jennifer Smith, hashtag come on Teddy. You don't normally need the PA to hear that shout at most circuits. So we'll start then with our Honda cadets. It's Henry Colborne, who won everything yesterday, is qualified on pole position again today. Oliver Ratton, who struggled yesterday off the outside of the front row to get across and in, was always dropping down sort of P5 and then having to fight his way back through before challenging Colborne. Again goes off the second row. Phoebe Shelton and Nico Veselovsky with Reggie Duffy and Chris Doshi on row number 3. Alfie B and George Bridger in front of Timon Pajak before we move to our Might E cadet runners. Daniel Stangarian in front of Frank Pearson and Jacob Amis. Then it's going to be row 7 overall, which will be the outside of the second row for our Might E cadets will be Freddie Howell. He's going to be in front of Harry Voss and Gianluca Hudson, with Archie Annesley, Emily Christie and Samuel Kenny on the outside of row number 9 overall. Sarah M, one of our slipstream pass holders, saying good luck to Jack Rossi Minot and all of Team 737 in IARMY M1. As usual, a lot of love coming in for Zane Sofawoglu. Support as well for Jules Nash and James Varney, asking what time senior Rotax is. So we've got the race coming up, Honda Cadet, they've just come out with Might E Cadet. Following that, we'll have Junior Rotax, then we'll have Intermax and Might E Super Cadet, and then we have Senior Rotax. So they're the last one of the cycle before lunchtime. So you've probably got around about 25 minutes before you want to get yourself set down. It's well beyond breakfast time now, so you've got plenty of time to make yourself a cup of tea, get an entire pack of chocolate digestive biscuits, of which most I imagine will have disappeared before the start of that senior Rotax race, if you're anything like me, and then you can get yourself in. You'll not need any dinner until about 2 o'clock anyway, so biscuits is the way forwards. And if you are watching and you are at home and you are a child and you've not had your breakfast yet, I give you express permission to have biscuits for breakfast. All complaints about that can be just directed straight to Alpha Live and not to myself. Honda Cadets then will roll themselves round and into position. Henry Colborne dictating the pace. The Mighties in the background going a little bit quicker. They'll almost be on the back of the Hondas by the time they get round. They've not slowed down anywhere near as much as what the Hondas have. Colborne dictating the pace. In his post-race interview yesterday, said that he was not driving particularly well and still managed to win everything yesterday. So I don't think that's going to give the rest of the field much to go at today. Again, Oliver Ratton struggling to get across on that outside berth as Colborne will lead us up towards the first corner then from Phoebe Shelton, as we've got drivers off in the background. That's Oliver Ratton off the front row. Is on the grass on the outside and kicking up dust and down into 9th place in our Honda Cadet class. Colborne leads then from Shelton. Bit of a gap back to the driver in 3rd place, which is Alfie B, who's come through from 6th place as he crossed the line. 7th on the grid for Alfie B, and I think he's up into 3rd place on the opening lap. That inside row getting the rub of the green once again. Colborne then leads us over the line from Phoebe Shelton. It is Alfie B in 3rd place. Chris Doshi, who was good yesterday, down in P4. Timon Pajak, who started in 9th, is up into 5th place, although quickly they're down into 6th. As Nico Veselovsky goes down the inside of him into the right-hander at the far end of the circuit. George Bridger, Reggie Duffy. The recovering now Oliver Ratton, who should have enough to try and work his way back up to, I think, P3 at the very least. We'll try and pick up the results for our Mighty Cadets the best we can. Daniel Stangarian is leading that race at the moment. I think Freddie Howell is in 2nd place. I'll try and clock them as we come out the commentary box window, but it is Howell in 2nd place. Then it's Pearson in 3rd. Harry Voss with Jacob Amos falling a little bit down the order. Battled for the win yesterday. That's a good move down the inside by Duffy. And Ratton's going through the gap as well. So leading duo breaking away as Colborne has got that gap. Alfie B goes in a little bit too hot. Doesn't realise there's a cart to his right-hand side. And Chris Doshi just gets squeezed off the circuit on the right-hand side. Alfie B knew there was a cart to his left, moved to the other side, didn't realise that he was the meat in the sandwich there. And Nico Veselovsky gets 2 for the price of one. And Alfie B, the only thing he gets out of that is a contact warning. Ratton up into 6th place there, 3 places gained on that previous lap, and is already, given the tribulations of the trio in front, already up onto the back of them. 4 minutes and 6 seconds to get through at least the 3 in front for Oliver Ratton, who was on the receiving end of many superlatives yesterday in the final. Certainly a driver that can challenge at the front in any championship in the UK. He makes a move there on his MJR teammate Chris Doshi. Get the feeling that there's another one coming as they run up towards the first hairpin. Does like the move. We've got yellow flags in the background because we've got one of the Might E's off. So number 83 machinist Samuel Kenny in the back chicane. So Ratton couldn't make the move and may well not have an opportunity into this back chicane if the yellow flags are still out for the marshals working. Nothing at post 3 though, so would have had a chance. Is there anything coming up at Caravan Corner as the Mighties start to make their way through some of the Honda traffic? That was a side effect of them not leaving a massive gap at the start of this race, was that they're going to start coming through the Hondas in the same way that the front-running Hondas, if they'd have started behind, would have come through the tail of the Mighty Cadet grid. Now the Mighty Cadets are starting to come through some of the Hondas as well. Provides a very different dynamic, this multi-class racing, that teaches the drivers so much about closing speeds and about different accelerations. As wide goes the 75 of Frank Pearson. Sprays gravel all over the track on the far end of the circuit, just carried too much speed on the exit, and there's not a lot. Oh, as Chris Doshi goes up the back of Oliver Ratton down at Caravan Corner. Loses a place. At the same time, I think, to Alfie B. Duffy up into 4th place. Ratton loses a place because of that and will have work to do again. Minute and 36 on the clock. Colborne's off into the distance at the front. 2.6 seconds is the gap. As through comes Daniel Stangarian, who, again, the championship leader in the Mighty Cadet class, is leading at the front. We'll just need to be careful because it's a 5-place penalty if you get a front fairing push in, and he doesn't need it getting through the Hondas, particularly when he's got a fairly good gap back to the rest of his Mighty rivals. Just needs to be steady. There we go, a nice clean overtake by Daniel Stangarian. As he moves through, Oliver Ratton now closing back in up on the back of Reggie Duffy. But they may well find the opportunity taken from them as Daniel Stangarian will come through them in the next lap or so. 12 seconds on the clock as Henry Colborne starts making his way through some of the lap traffic of the Samuel Kenny, who spun earlier on. Gap is out to 3 seconds plus now for Henry Colborne, but he did cross the timing line before we elapsed to 0, so everyone now with 2 seconds to go. Waved yellow briefly in the background for a slow moving kart. Chris Doshi finds a way past Alfie B for what will be 6th place in Honda. There's your race leader, Henry Colborne with a lap and a half. A lap and a few corners, in fact, now, such as how far he's been down the track. As we go full 360 to pick him up again. He makes his way through. And the checkered flag is out. Okay, the checkered flag is out. Henry Colborne then takes the victory from Phoebe Shelton, Nico Veselovsky and Reggie Duffusy in Honda. Oliver Ratton, Chris Doshi, Alfie B, Timon Pajak and George Bridger in Honda. Might E-Cadet won by Daniel Stangarian. A lot of love coming into the live chat for Jacob Amis. Good morning as well to Jerry Mackey, who one of our slipstream pass holders, as is Dirk 1285. So thank you very much for your support. Of course, slipstream broadcasts of all of the Saturdays for slipstream pass holders here at the HWE BIM Services SuperOne Championship, and then a full race day on Alpha Live on the Sunday. So, Junior Rotax is the next one on the agenda for us. And there, perfectly framed, the pole sitter, 41. Alex McCullagh. In fact, I was fairly sure McCullagh wasn't on pole position this morning, so that could well be the second row. We'll confirm it in a few moments' time because we'll have a full grid for Junior Rotax. That was the front row I was expecting. Laurie McVeigh then will line up on pole position. Driver who came into this race weekend fourth in the championship after a tough day down at Clay Pigeon at the previous race weekend. Jake Anders will start alongside him. Won the final on track yesterday. Was removed from the standings post-race for an excessive carbon build-up on top of the piston. That's been dealt with overnight. And as you can see, given that he's put it on the front row, hasn't changed his pace one bit. Laurie McVeigh then with Jake Anders on the front row. Alex McCullagh and Ryan Wheatley in front of Travis Dolby and Amy Peacock on row number 3. Row 4, Jude Puddifoot and Warwick Milam in front of Tyler Banks and Toby Dukes with Harry Ward and Elijah Hartley on row number 6. Row 7, Isaac Jameson, who won the final yesterday, starts in P13. He's got Kian Hundle, who was third yesterday. So both podium runners down 13th and 14th. Nelson Taylor alongside the championship leader. He's had a tough weekend, including a retirement in yesterday's final, Jake Cossey. He starts P16. Nathan Rund and Fletcher Groves number 9. Then it's Tigran Gregorian with Aidan Young in front of Jake Richardson and Charlie Halewood, Timmy Shahini and Jerry Duffusy on row number 12 in front of Daniel Barton. 25 junior Rotax runners in a class that almost certainly guarantees action. Drivers just making their way up round the offshoot of the circuit up at Caravan Corner. Isaac Welsh Racing just saying keep an eye on P16 for Jake Cossey. Well, yesterday he had some tough heats, was going well in the final, but then his rear bumper popped out of one of the mountings and that tipped him into a spin. On the way into here, we saw his car off to the right hand side and he was out of the race. And dropped some points yesterday, did Jake Cozzy, who came into this race weekend on a high after a stellar performance at his home circuit of Clay Pigeon. That's the WC plate that he has on the kart. Getting a lot of support though from Isaac Welch. Anders looking to his left for when Laurie McVeigh powers down. The answer is now. As we head up towards the first corner, Anders trying to get across, but there's no gap for him. That's always the problem on the outside here at Fulbeck. He's going to have to try and sweep all the way around the outside. We've got karts together. 2, 3, 4 karts. Jake Cozzy, the championship leader's involved in that as well. I think Jude Pudderfoot is in there. He was leading one of the races yesterday before coming to harm in the final. McVeigh though leads from Jake Anders. That's your top two and Alex McCullough. A little bit of a gap back. Looks like we've got Travis Dolby up from P6 into 4th place. Jude Pudderfoot's got a contact warning, although I'm fairly sure at one point he was on top of another car. So can't be helped when you're in that position. McVeigh, Anders, McCullough, Milan, Ward, Jameson, Taylor, Ron, Peacock, Hartley. Your top 10 in front of Gregorian. Some big moves up. Ward, Jameson, Taylor, Rond all starting outside the top 10 and find themselves well inside now. Your drivers on the opening lap who had the problems: Dolby, Banks, Young, Barton, Halewood, Shahini, Dukes and Cozzy haven't tipped the timing line yet. And probably won't. I think they're both out of this race. Certainly one in the pit lane. Anders leads though now then from Laurie McVeigh. Up towards the back chicane. Contact warning for Laurie McVeigh in that second place. Goes a little bit tighter on that run up towards Caravan Corner. In the background we've got an overtake that looked like it was Nathan Rond dropping a place. Tigran Gregorian makes his way inside the top 10 for the first time today. Another driver that retired from the final yesterday but performed incredibly well throughout in his debut weekend here in Super One this season. Anders with a gap of 0.3 of a second, but that gets, oh, we've got a driver off on the way in at Marshall Post 5, and I think he went off all by himself, and it's Nathan Rond. There didn't look to be anybody near him. And the 67 of Nathan Rond goes off, takes himself out. He was in P11. He's going to drop all the way down to around about P20, I think, when he comes through. He's going to be behind Aidan Young. Nathan Rond does indeed cross the line in 20th place. Jake Anders then still from Laurie McVeigh and Alex McCullough. Isaac Jameson just off the back of this train of 4. Warwick Milan still in the mix as well there. But lap on lap, he's probably losing 1/10 of a second or so off the back of Alex McCullough. All of this top 10 though still with an opportunity, as that's Nelson Taylor going down the inside of Harry Ward. And Harry Ward switching straight back. It's been a fairly serene junior Rotax race by usual standards. After that opening lap, as Amy Peacock goes down the inside of both the 91 and the 81. Think of Elijah Hartley. Hartley, the job done earlier on, but Peacock up to 7th place now, having started in 6th place. He qualified 7th, but looks like one of the drivers on the Peacock gets a warning. I think Laurie McVeigh might be in line for another one at some point. No, it's a 73 of Tigran Gregorian. Hearing the radio chatter in the background as Laurie McVeigh goes down the inside of Jake Anders at Caravan Corner to take the lead. There's a warning for Alex McCullough. I wonder if he fired Laurie McVeigh down the inside of Jake Anders at Caravan Corner. Who knows, we just caught the tail end of it, but minute and a half to go. Laurie McVeigh, Jake Anders, Alex McCullough, Warwick Milam has done enough to keep himself in with a shout. The spinning is Daniel Barton. Looks like that's on the exit of the first chicane. Drivers are lapping in the 45s and they'll get round before it says 45 in the top left-hand corner of the screen. So, 3 laps to go for the 33 to hold on. Waved yellows in the complex. They're back in fairly quickly. Looks like what could well have been Tyler Banks potentially. He's lost a place to Aidan Young and is now 4 seconds off the back. Travis Dolby with a contact warning. May well have something to do with it. They were fairly close together. Jake Anders' right side rear bumper is up in the air. It's not a technical and it won't be doing him too much harm, but looks like it's wedged in, so might not be giving the chassis the flexibility that he'd like. 2 laps to go then though as they cross the timing line. Leading trio look fairly complicit at the moment in this junior race, but expect a defensive final lap from Laurie McVeigh, who will be hoping to close in on Jake Cozzy this weekend in his championship charge. Cozzy, who retired from the final yesterday, completed no laps of the opening race today. A weekend to forget for Jake Cozzy, as defensive goes Laurie McVeigh, and Jake Anders sort of has to do the same because he's in the middle of the sandwich, which has got Alex McCullough trying to find a way through as well. Expect McVeigh to park the car on the run up towards Caravan, and indeed does, and it's brought Isaac Jameson back into the mix a little bit on the back of Warwick Milam. And we are going to be nose to tail 5 for the lead, but we head out of the final corner, which is a flat out left. Heat number 1 goes the way of Laurie McVeigh from Jake Anders, Alex McCullough, Warwick Milam and Isaac Jameson. Peacock, Ward, Hartley, Taylor and Gregorian are your top 10. Ryan Wheatley, Jude Pudderfoot, after being involved in the opening lap skirmish, which dropped him all the way down the order, recovers to P12. Jake Richardson, Cian Hundle, Jerry Duffy, Fletcher Grounds with Travis Dolby, Aidan Young, Charlie Halewood and Daniel Barton. Nathan Ron, Timmy Shahini, the final runners who saw the checkered flag. Tyler Banks retiring with 3 laps to go. Toby Dukes and Jake Cozzy not completing the opening lap. In fact, Dukes' car being wheeled already past the commentary position. So that cart's been recovered already back into the paddock, and the radiator bracket has failed on that one. Such was the contact, and they've got a little bit of work to do to get the 79 machine back out of Dean Jukes Racing for Toby Jukes for the second heat. His brother Jacob on the spanners for him this weekend. A very accomplished driver, Jacob Jukes, having won many a championship in his time in junior Rotax, now passing on the knowledge to other drivers. So Intermax then is the next instalment. They'll be amalgamated with Mighty Super Cadet for what is the penultimate race before the lunch break. Senior Rotax will follow. And then we will have lunch, but don't go anywhere. We'll have our drivers parade. We'll have interviews from the racers and finals yesterday before we are back for the second heats and the finals here today then from round number 8 of Super 1. Inter's getting ready on the right hand side, Mighty Super Cadet on the left. So we move on then to heat number 1 for those classes. Green flag then from the dummy grid as the field makes their way out. Intermax first, Mighty Super Cadets just behind them. And on pole position, it will be the formidable championship leader, Charlie Gregg. Didn't win the heat yesterday, but did win the one that matters. He won the final. Charlie Heffer will start alongside